Phone line. That's where we find Congressman Mike Carey, Ohio's 15th district. Congressman, you got to have that date circled on your calendar. It's an away game. I don't know. Maybe you might actually, take your private jet down there and watch it in Texas. But you got to have the burgers and the dogs and the chicken wings on the grill. It's going to be a fun night to tailgate.
And how many times are we going to hear this? All right, all right, all right.
That's right. So. That's right. A couple of things. Thank you for the time this morning, as always, Congressman Mike Carey. The big story, of course, Trump on his way to Beijing as we speak. This is a big deal. This is a big meeting, not only for trade and economics between the U.S. and China, but Trump and his team have to navigate this relationship between China and Iran. I mean, China misses that cheap oil right now.
Oh, absolutely.
And Iran probably misses some of the political cover that the Chinese provide, and they also provide tech and some military stuff, too. So what are your expectations and understanding of this visit?
Well, I'll tell you, I think you really hit everything on the head right there. Obviously, what's going on in Iran and oil, because we all know that the Strait, 20% of the oil comes through the Strait, most of that going to most of that going into China, Vietnam, and those countries. So this is affecting their markets. So this visit by the president is very timely. But there's so many other issues out there. I mean, in looking at investment and what does that investment actually mean into the United States, there were a lot of articles. New York Times ran something yesterday, I believe, on that. I think there are a lot of problems. If you look at drone technology, one of the things over the course of when I was in the district doing the in-district work period, realizing that so many of the drones that we use, that our county commissioners, our county engineers, township trustees, a lot of the drones that look at our bridges, our overpasses, all of those things, in many cases, are provided for by Chinese technology, 90%, up to 90%. That, to me, is scary. And so we've got to do a better job in this country. Hopefully the president will bring that home. Just in some of the things that we have done into the vaping world, which is a bill that I've had, these Chinese vapes, flooding the market, very dangerous. So the software platforms, all of these things are open for discussion. But in the end, I think the Chinese are definitely feeling the pinch with the oil coming in from the Straits. That's going to be probably for them one of their biggest issues.
Do you think when we're having our next conversation or even sooner that based on this meeting we'll see some changes in the Strait of Hormuz and some changes with the conflict in Iran? Will this be will the Chinese government put some pressure on Iran to kind of play nice here and figure this all out?
Well, I would think that they'd want to. I mean, listen. This oil is directly going into their marketplace. We know that. This is not 1977. This is obviously today.
Right.
And the oil markets are different. So yeah, I would believe that the Chinese would put pressure on Iran. Now, we'll see what happens, but this is going to be bigger than. This meeting with the president going to China is really telling the investment that they're talking about putting into the United States, and there are a lot of things within the trade space as it relates to onshoring a lot of our manufacturing base, which we have seen here in this country. But there are a lot of things that we have to continue, particularly in the pharmaceutical space. So I'm anxious to see what the president accomplishes with this visit. I think this will be the first, but there's a lot of work that will have to be done behind the scenes in order to really get something productive out of this meeting.
We'll get closer to home in a second. One final question on this meeting. Does it concern you at all? I get money is money, and when you hear about Chinese investments in the U.S., do we really want them to invest more in this country? I'm on the fence there a little bit.
Yeah, I am too. Listen, they don't play fair. We've seen this. What they've done to our technology, they've built an infrastructure with whether it's in software or whatever it is, based upon pirating those products that we have. If you look at, nothing is more telling than when you look at a Chevy and a Chevy. They've copied so much of what we have had in our country. To their benefit. And this is something that is a real problem, and they want to take over as the dominant world currency. And I do not believe that is in the best interest of obviously of our country, but also of the free world. So They play by a different set of rules in China, and if you look at the way that they have done both in their mining sector and their manufacturing sector, their environmental conditions, their labor conditions, completely different. So, yeah, I would be very cautious about any type of deal that we are in terms of bringing in resources from China. But let's let the president have the flexibility to do what is needed to do what's best for our country. But there's going to be a lot of work behind the scenes that will ultimately have to be done to have something productive come out of these meetings.
Well, you can say what you want about the president, but if there's anybody negotiating on behalf of the United States in this situation, he's the guy that I would like there.
No doubt about that.
Yeah, Congressman Mike Carey, Ohio's 15th district. And we got to love our, that we back the men and women in blue here on 610, and it is national. I know you do too, and it's National Police Week, Congressman.
It is, and I'll tell you, this takes on a whole other meaning for me. Now I always tell people the last time I was elected to office was 1989, before I got ran for Congress, and that was for student council president. So, working with our police officers, working with security, when you have death threats and threats to your family, I work with these individuals every day, and I really support all their efforts. And so, having this National Police Week here in our nation's capital, when Megan and I flew in yesterday, she came out for a fundraiser we were doing for March of Dimes, but came out here. You saw all the police officers that are actually here in our nation's capital. A lot of the things that we're doing were House concurrent resolutions expressing our support for law enforcement. But there's some really, I think, major pieces of legislation that we are doing, and we're going to have on the floor this week. H.R. 6260, Keeping Violent Offenders Off Our Streets Act. I mean, that doesn't seem like that would be a debatable issue, right? But it treats bail bonds as insurance products, so bail organizations face the proper oversight on state regulations, responds to outside bail groups, helping these violent offenders getting released with little accountability. We've got a couple of a cashless bail requirement act that we'll have on the floor. We'll have a monitor accountability act, which will be H.R. 8365. I'd like to see our cops hiring program, which is a bipartisan bill that I have, which is H.R. 5403. This would just allow our police forces to utilize the cops hiring program for not just the encouragement of the agencies to hire law enforcement, but to actually utilize the program for recruitment, but really with the way things are going right now on retention. And so really honored to have all the police officers that are out here this week. I know the folks in Central Ohio, Columbus, and all over the 15th Congressional District. We've done a lot for them with the Social Security Fairness Act, which opened up a lot of those retirees to those Social Security benefits that for so many years they were not entitled to. And we were able to do that in the last couple of years. So we got to be with our police officers with the tools and the equipment that they need, the protections that they need, but we also have to be there when they are going into retirement. So it's going to be a great week, and looking forward to seeing a lot of them out here in our office.
Well, and thank you for recognizing them as well. It is much appreciated, Mike Carey. Briefly, some of the things that you do in the district don't make the news. They don't make the headlines. They're not sexy, but they're incredibly important. You have secured millions and millions of dollars in infrastructure in the 15th, research and education, transportation. Again, these are all very important items that just don't make the headlines. Give me about a minute on what you've been able to do.
Well, absolutely. We put in over $60 million for not just Central Ohio, but all over the 15th Congressional District, but over $40-some million coming into Franklin County. These are great projects, and these are projects that we've worked with the mayor's office in Columbus, but also some of the village mayors in Lockbourne and Obetz, Grove City, Chris Grooms up in Dublin. So we've put in over requests for just in the Franklin County alone, $42 million worth of grant dollars. And this comes on top of the 22.5 that we've received. And these are projects that we work not just with the universities, but with the municipalities, going all the way out into Piqua and Shelby County, Miami County, Fayette County. these are great projects that we partner with the local communities on water extensions. And, the county commissioners brought some water distribution system replacement projects for folks in some communities. The city has worked with some upgrades on road separation projects, roundabouts, county engineers. We're working with the sheriff on a number of monitoring for a lot of projects that they have, working with the Hilltop on some great things, Opportunity Workforce Initiative. So Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force through the Franklin County Commissioner. All of these are great projects. We have them all on our website. Please take a look at them. But I'll tell you what, I'm really proud to do that work. Our team in the district, our district office team and our DC team worked fist to glove with all the people in the commissioners in these villages and the mayor's offices, and I can't tell you what a great job it is to work when everybody's working and singing from the same sheet of music on this.